Oh my god, are you reading The Queen of the Damned? I love this book. I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I know Akasha is like the main thing in that book. And she's such a feminist icon. Wow, I love it so much. Have you seen the edits of her? Like, yes, she is the answer. Hello and welcome back. My name is Gopi, and today we are talking about The Queen of the Damned. So, obviously, spoiler warning at this point. Since the Vampire Lestat season is over, my whole online feed has been full of Akasha edits, which fair enough. But also, I've seen so many people talking about how Akasha is this new feminist girly, and I disagree. I disagree a lot. So we're going to talk about it today, and we're going to talk about Akasha's backstory and why I don't think she's a feminist girly. If you disagree on my opinion, please write it in the comments. Please write if you do agree, and tell me what you think of Akasha. Tell me what you think of the series, and are you excited for the new Queen of the Damned season? Because I'm very excited. Before we start, I also need to mention that Sheila did an amazing performance in the Vampire Lestat series. I'm very excited for that. But also, there is the Queen of the Damned movie. Now, I don't like the movie. Yeah, but Aaliyah is great. Aaliyah is the Queen of the Damned, the first Queen of the Damned. I think she's like very precious to the whole fandom. So I will always miss her. I wouldn't recommend you watching that movie for the plot because it's also like so straight. Like no. But I would recommend you watching it just for Aaliyah. She's amazing. The costume is amazing. Just look at her. Now, I do not think you need to read the book to understand Akasha or to enjoy the series. But again, we are going to talk a lot about the book. So if I say any name or anything wrong, I am so deeply sorry. English is not my first language. I tried to make this video so many times, and I have a bit difficulties with saying some of these words in here. So yeah, huge apology. I'm trying my best. To understand Akasha, we have to look at who she was before she became a vampire. And Akasha was born in Uruk, an ancient city in southern Mesopotamia located in modern-day Iraq. And at a young age, Akasha married King Enki of Kemet. Now, Kemet is an ancient native name for Egypt, meaning black land, due to the rich soil left by the annual flooding of the Nile River. And together, Akasha and Enkiel were civilizing monarchs. They introduced agriculture to their kingdom to cultivate wheat and grain and to outlaw cannibalism, which sounds really good at first, but it's also very important to remember that Akasha's whole drive for progress was never rooted in empathy or human welfare, but more in this vanity and obsessive need for absolute control. During her reign, she bore Enki a son named Seth. By the way, some little thing I want to mention from the cut, Seth is in the books too, and he is actually the companion of Farid. And we've seen the Dr. Farid in the Vampire Lestat series and in the interview with the Vampire series. He is not a vampire yet, presumably. I don't think he is, but he's like this vampire doctor. And also, Seth and Farid, they have a child together. Well, it's actually Lestat's child, but you know. And also took a young personal guard named Nibamun as her secret lover. And her whole life was defined by a ruthless demand to be worshipped above everything else. So she is a tyrant. Eventually, she becomes obsessed with all kinds of supernatural stuff because she also can't deal with things outlawing her power, which gets us to Mahet and Mekare. Mahet and Mekare are twins that live in a distant mountain valley outside of Kemet, and they practice a form of nature magic, speaking to elemental spirits, most notably Amel. Now, Amel was mentioned in the Vampire Lestat series before. I think it was even mentioned in Interview with the Vampire. I'm not sure right now, but I think it was mentioned. I'm not sure if the twins were mentioned. I think they were. Eventually, Akasha wants to meet Mahet and Mekare, and she wants that they answer her questions, which they refuse. And sometime later, because Akasha cannot accept a no, she sends soldiers to the twins' village, where they interrupt the mother's funeral of both of them. And the twins actually plan to prepare for this cultural funeral where they consume the brain and the heart of the mom, so it's kind of cannibalism. And these soldiers kill everyone, they take the twins with them and arrest them for the crime of cannibalism and drag them back to Akasha. And at court, Akasha presents herself as a savior, and she says she spares these twins when they answer her questions. Now, in Anne Rice's books, spirits are not these kind of omnipresent gods, but they are more like moody, childlike creatures. Annoyed by Akasha's trivial questions, these spirits become very irritated and hurl back like these very rude results at her in front of the entire court, which Akasha doesn't really like. She becomes very angry at that and puts Mahet and Mekare into jail as blasphemies. The next day, though, she tries again asking them the same question, and the twins summon Amel to like give her these answers, or well, to be more precise, to kind of like get revenge on Akasha. And after Amel shows his great power, Akasha reacts negatively again, and she orders the steward came in to assault Mekara before the entire court as punishment. After that, the queen allows the twins to leave, but Amel still stays at court and is very furious at what the queen did to the twins and just starts to follow Akasha everywhere and just to punish her and the king by pestering them every day and night in their homes. And as I said before, Akasha and Enki weren't these like good and perfect leaders, and there were also cannibals against them, but not these savage cannibals that people often think about. It was mere this practice, ritual cannibalism. So when news spread that the king and the queen were being haunted and tormented by this vengeful demon, a group of rebellious nobles seized the moment and they ambushed the palace and stabbed Akasha and Enki repeatedly, leaving them both dying in a pool of their own blood. And then Amel, who was still very furious over the twins' mistreatment and drawn to this very violent energy, thrust himself into Akasha's open wound, and Amel fused his spirit with her blood, stitching her soul kind of like back into her corpse. And in that moment, Akasha became the first vampire, and she became the holder of this sacred core, the literal divine power source from every future vampire. Akasha then turned Enkil into a vampire, making him the second vampire in existence, and together they slaughtered every noble involved in this rebellion. And realizing they could no longer step into sunlight and had to drink blood to survive, and could no longer engage in this like physical intimacy, Akasha demanded answers, and she then came in to bring the twins back to court. And when Maharet explained that this spirit was now living inside them, and that this bloodlust could be diluted by making more vampires, Akasha grew furious that the twins couldn't completely cure her curse. And as a punishment, Akasha had Maharet's eyes gouged out and Mekara's tongue cut out. So, yeah, very feminist queen of her. But the next knight came in who was kind of like racked with guilt over what he had done to the twins, rebelled against Akasha, and he turned Mekara into a vampire, and Mekara turned Maharet. By the way, he was turned into a vampire too. And they created the first vampire resistance group known as the First Brood. And to crush them, Akasha turned her lover into a vampire to lead her guard, and eventually she turned her own son, Seth, into a vampire too to join her army. Akasha traps the twins and then seals them in separate stone coffins and casts them adrift into opposite ends of the ocean, and she hopes that they will drift apart forever. For the next many, many years, Akasha and Enki rule as a divine blood gods in Kemet, and she sent her fledglings out in the world to be worshipped, but she has also this very strict rule, which is no one was allowed to turn a woman into a vampire without her explicit blessing. And Akasha demanded to be the only female deity worshipped by her kind. But her general and her lover Nebamun broke this rule by turning a woman named Zephyrin, whom he loved, and Akasha then imprisoned him and took Zephyrin as her first handmaid. And over the centuries, as the vampire population grew, Akasha and Enki drank less blood and fell into this catonic state. And they became these motionless marble-white figures known among vampires as those who must be kept. And they were guarded by ancient caretakers because vampires quickly learned that there are these fundamental laws of the sacred core. If Akasha suffers any injury, every vampire on Earth would feel it too. And if Akasha would die, every vampire in existence would die too. The most known caretaker of those who must be kept was obviously Marius. And also for some parts, it was Lestat, at least like in the series, because Lestat later became kind of her chosen. Because yeah, of course Lestat is, it's fucking Lestat. Anyway, for like the next years, she and Enki were like really frozen, and until the 80s, at least in the books, when Lestat's rock music echoed through her mind and she woke up. This was, by the way, only possible because Marius in the books gave her a TV because he was also kind of fascinated by like modern technology, and yeah, that's why they saw it. So in the end, it was kind of like Marius' fault, which, as a Marius hater, I agree. In the books, when Akasha finally wakes up, she drains Enki of every drop of his blood, killing her husband because he has no longer a purpose for her. She then launches in this global massacre using the fire gift to just kill a lot of vampires around her, and only sparing Lestat and some few others. And she just intends to slaughter 90% of the world's male population. Yes. She just claims that men are like... Akasha claims that men are biologically hardwired for destruction and violence, and by wiping them out, she claims she will create this peaceful Eden where women can live without fear, ruled by her and Lestat as like these living divine gods. And when people online hear this whole end male violence, they often really cheer. But I think it's important to look what Akasha is actually saying. So what Akasha is saying that it's all biological essentialism. So Akasha reduces all human morality down to gender, ignoring the systematic power structures. And secondly, it's all like really hypocritical because Akasha claims women are inherently peaceful, which is a patriarchal standard, by the way. And yet she is the single most violent entity in this human history. You know, she mutilated the twins, forced her son into vampirism, and she just like kills anyone, male or female, who refuse to bow to her. Akasha doesn't want women to be free, but she wants them to worship her. And when the surviving vampires confronted her, Mahat actually calls this out because Akasha doesn't care about women. You know, she cares about her own worship and she cares about total obedience. And any woman who rejects her is, in her opinion, wrong. Now, can you see why I might come to the conclusion that she isn't a feminist to like every intent? Akasha is, in my opinion, one of the most fascinating and cruelest villain in like Gothic history. How amazing these actresses both are, it doesn't change the character of the Queen of the Damned. I think you can love a character and you can think she is a brilliant antagonist without trying to sanitize her into these progressive girl boss ideas. Not every female character needs to be a feminist. And I think this is a very important conversation to have. So I hope I could have like cleared some things up and told you something new in this video. Feel always free to tell me what you think. If you disagree, again, please tell me why. And please tell me what you think about her backstory. How do you feel about AMC setting up the Queen of the Damned next season? Let's just talk about it because I think it's very interesting and Akasha is very interesting. And yeah, also thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more videos and I will see you next time.